Hey everyone, welcome to Tint Wisdom number 98. It's a roundtable. Today I'm joined with Michael Burke, founder of Sunstoppers. We have Chris Hardy, regional sales manager for Xpel. We're waiting on Clear Bra Chris. He should be joining us any moment. And then we have Kyle Owen, founder of Clear Bra Indy.
What's going on, fellas?
How's everybody?
Hello.
So first and foremost, I want to thank Michael Burke, obviously, for putting this together and rounding up such great minds. And thank you, Chris and Kyle, for taking the time to do this. And yeah, let's jump in. So per Michael Burke's suggestion, we actually have some questions that we can jump into, and we can kind of start there, going question by question. How do you want to do it?
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. What I want to do is actually pick your brain, Eric. You're such a knowledgeable guy in the industry. You're always hosting the shows. I'm going to flip the script on you and actually start asking you some questions. I want to pick your brain. Kyle and Chris Hardy is a legend in this industry already. He's tripled and quadrupled the sales for Xpel. He's the secret sauce. If anybody wants to know what happened to Xpel, you're looking at him.
I don't know if I'd go quite that far, but I'll take the compliment all day long.
My man. And I wanted to let you know that I am now representing Tint Wiz. Now, I love Eric. He's a great guy. I love him to death. We've become very good friends here recently. But, bro, I am extra large, not schmedium.
So we were testing out.
He did send me an extra large shirt, but it was for the gymnastics youth group. But I did have to take matters in my own hands.
I wish you would have did it on the Tint Wisdom, but it's what's done is done.
Tore it up.
Because I imagine you did it just by you didn't use scissors. You just hulked it.
I just ripped it off. Yeah. Well, no, there was a OCC choppers, so I just figured I would just be like the dad and just it's all good.
So
let's
jumping into the questions. The only thing is, if you're watching the screen, they're not going to jump. They're not going to be on your Skype screen. And I'm just thinking about what you asked before. They're on the screen for everybody to see. However, there's probably a 30 or 40-second delay there. So you watching it live is not going to help. So I don't know. Either I read the questions or you pull it up on another device somehow. But that's where we're at.
Okay, here's the thing. I've got a bunch of questions that I've kind of put together. I may have to log out, log back in. Quick question. The question I got for you, Chris, is this. How long have you actually been in the window film industry?
Well, so, I started with Xpel in October of 2017, but the reality is that I have a business partner named David Glendenning. He's quite a legendary paint protection film installer himself in Western Canada. And we own a few brick and mortar operations up near Vancouver, British Columbia. So I was in the industry for quite a few years before obviously joining Xpel on the manufacturing side. And I'm still involved within the organization. Of course, I'm not running them with David like I was before. It was sort of a 50-50 split in terms of operational management before. And now it's probably more like a 99 for him and 1% in relying on me for just some backup. But, yeah, I've been around for quite a few years now and loving every minute of it.
Question, Kyle. How long have you actually been in the industry?
So in the PPF industry since 99, in aviation, and then in 03 in the automotive side, and then the window tint side of things since 2010.
You confused me there, buddy. You said aviation. What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's where the PPF all started, right? Back in the 70s
what?
for
for
helicopter blades.
No
absolutely
way.
For Vietnam. Yeah, 3M.
You're gonna have to educate me because I'm a tent guy.
Yeah, so 3M patented the film back for helicopter rotor blades for Vietnam. Back in the rice paddy fields, they would degrade the rotor blades and just take our choppers down just from flying over with all that in the air. So 3M developed this film to protect that blade, that leading edge on the blade, and then over the years, it got into fixed wing, which is where I was, airplanes, small airplanes, and we protected the leading edge of the antenna blades, the radomes, some wooden props, leading edge of that. But the heavy degradation areas of the leading edges, really, of most of the aircraft that would get protected with this film. So Yeah, 17 years old. I learned how to put this film on, and had no idea what it was. And then I got in the car business, and it was being used there, so kind of fell into it.
Eric, how about you, buddy? How long you been in this industry?
I've been in the industry for about 10 years. I started my own shop in about 6 years ago, sold it about a year and a half ago. So it's been probably about 10
Awesome.
or 11 years.
Sweet. 32 years for me. That's okay.
That's it.
I'm old.
So Mike Burke, how long have you been in the industry?
Since 1988.
Okay. And what was the original business called?
Well, no, I've been through quite a few. It was the Tint Man, then it was Innovations, and then it was Lightning Mics.
Lightning
and now
Mics.
Now it's Sunstoppers, and I'm AKA Lightning for the rest of my life. Anyway, we've got a list of questions. I can't really see them up here. Eric, do you have a list of them? What were they?
I do. So you actually asked the first one, so that's perfect. And now the next question was, if are we seeing a rise in women in window film?
It's a good question.
I can answer that if you want to go for. If you don't mind my going first, yeah, we're definitely seeing a rise. We do a lot of training, obviously, at Xpel Corporate, as many of the the good high-end manufacturers have some sort of training facility going on, and we are definitely seeing an influx of more and more women getting into the business. Not only that, but what you'll see is lead generation coming in, right? So we'll have people inquiring about representing Xpel in one format or another, and you're seeing a lot more females starting to ask about window film, paint protection film, and ceramic coating. So I don't know if it's just tint specific, but it's a rise regardless in the automotive industry.
I think the question really is this too. It's a double question, Chris. I think the question is more: are you seeing more women actually involved in the shop doing the window tinting and the paint protection as well?
Yeah, and that's when I talk about the training, right? We can look at the statistics in terms of the attendees that are training, and I think if you would look back 5 years ago, you probably saw next to zero over the course of an entire year. And now we see quite a few classes with women inside the classes. And, it's amazing. I've been to quite a few shops. I mean, I'm now, as I recently was promoted to heading up the entire eastern half of the U.S. So there's a new role for me. But I've been traveling quite a bit and visiting many shops. And in a lot of shops you go into, it's always amazing to watch women installers, female installers, getting their hands dirty and working alongside or working on their own and slinging out some fantastic work. So they're really, I think it's fair to say that for me, I noticed that with a lot of the women, they're really detail oriented. And I think that for that reason, maybe this is why they've started realizing this is a fantastic industry for them to be within as well as just men. Yeah.
Kyle, how about you?
Yeah, agreed with what Chris is saying. I have three installers that are female, and their attention to detail is fantastic, and their ability to keep their shit together so they don't just get ticked off when something is not going right. Their stress level is much lower, which I think in return gives them a better angle of finishing a job quicker and cleaner and less frustration. So, and it also keeps the rest of the shop kind of more
leveled
mild.
out.
It's not, yeah, if you know what I mean.
I absolutely do. We have an installer named Jessica. She's a really badass window tinter. She's been married, or not married, but they've been dating for like 15 years. And Charles is one of the fastest, more aggressive style window tinters in the industry, and he holds a very high demand of excellence and fast paced environment. And she's lived up to that. And now it's kind of funny because she can hold her own, and it's really cool to see when I go in there and she's like, "I'm one of the guys. I can kick their ass." And she's a badass, man. Not only she answers the phone, runs the shop, but she's laying patterns, shrinking, tinting, and it's badass. It's just awesome to see a girl in this industry take over like that. Eric, what have you found? Have you found out in LA? Is there a lot of women starting to get into tinting?
So my experience is really through the trainings we do, the virtual one-on-one trainings for Tint Wiz, and I speak to probably 2 to 3 of my training sessions are with women. So I see very much like on the admin side, a lot of the more organized companies. There's not to say they're all women, but you do see a lot of female presence there. And today, coincidentally, I did a training with a woman-owned flat glass company out of Florida, and she's. I didn't ask her if she tinted, but I know she's the owner, and she's very organized. So
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Back home, we have Protex Camels, Protex Victoria, and Excalibur Auto Spa, and we realize that the women are connecting also much better with the clients quite often on the front end of things.
Yeah.
And so we've changed our model, and we brought in women specifically to manage the shops and manage even the dictate the way that the program is going on the back end as well. What work has to be done and when. And like Kyle was saying earlier, I have to agree with him emphatically that it has really leveled things out within the shop. The testosterone levels come way down, and you're not seeing nearly as much of that negative interaction that you might have seen before.
Yeah.
Eric, what do we got next? What's the next question, buddy?
all right, we got will the consumer demand for paint protection film and window tint grow, flatten out, or decline over the next 5 to 10 years? And which one of those do you think has the most potential upside?
Chris,
So
what do you
if
think?
you'd like, I can definitely go first to this because I probably have the most data. And what I can tell you is that the paint protection film, especially in the U.S., is not even a drop in the bucket in comparison to what we're going to see. And the easy way to know that is to watch what happened in Canada, right? My shops are in Canada, and we watched the business grow from looking after the luxury and the exotics to 90% of our work orders now are a daily driver. I always talk about this with some of my own clients down here in the States, and that if you saw the cars that we're installing on, probably 80 to 90% of the cars we're installing on are under $40,000 here in the US. And yet when you go and look at the shops within the US, a lot of the shops are catering to that $70,000 plus automobile. So I know that that's changing, right? We look at the DAP statistics. We can see in DAP statistics what cars are being cut and how often. And 3 years ago, I mean, Kyle's attended, dealer conference every year for many years now. And 3-4 years ago, we would post on our dealer conference what the top 10 downloaded kits were for the year. And almost everything was at least 70 to 100 grand and above 4 or 5 years ago. Last year, there was one vehicle in there that was over $70,000. So again, that migration of mentality that actually paint protection film is not just full car coverage and $10,000 installs. It's, hey, I only need maybe just my front bumper or maybe a leading edge of the hood or what have you done. And yes, I'm only going to spend 500 to $1,000, but it's still very important for me, and it's very beneficial. As for window film, look, everybody wants window film on their car. It's almost always the very first thing that they look for in terms of an accessory on their automobile when they picked it up. It drastically changes the look of every single car, and that's why a lot of dealerships are starting to preload. Right? It's because they have an opportunity to cater that client's needs from the beginning and get it on right away. So yeah, I think the tint still has incredible room. I do think the paint protection film has the biggest opportunity in growth, but window film is still not even remotely close to where it's going to be in a few years. Yeah.
Kyle, what you think, buddy?
Yeah, same with PPF. It's what is it, like 1% or 2% of market share for daily drivers? Is still super low penetration, and it's going to grow like wild. My business has almost doubled every year for the last I would say 5 years, and it's because of getting all of people learning more about it. You can't expect, if you want to get more business, without growing it yourself, and just PPF is a product that once a person hears about it, they want it. And so yes, absolutely, it's going to continue to climb for years and years and years. Window tint, with the popularity now of clearer and lighter films that have great heat rejection numbers, the ceramic lines, the people that have issues seeing at night, they're getting film now because everybody's interested in protecting against UV, and they want to cut down that heat. And so yes, window film is going to continue to grow. And that dealership world, I came from a dealership years and years ago, and the dealers are all about trying to find that profit anywhere they can. And when they can add a tangible item that is a non-charge backable item to a vehicle, they're going to do it. And we're seeing that with window tint and paint protection film and ceramics. So absolutely, it's going to continue to increase for folds for years to come.
Yeah.
The thing I want to add in on that is I still think window tint has the biggest upside. And here's why. Number one, it has a larger penetration of market share. It has a lower price point, and it's easier to train people to do it than it is paint protection. I don't disagree that paint protection is on the rise, but if I was to pick which one's going to plateau and which one's going to excel, I'm still going to always pick window tint.
I think obviously I echo everybody else's sentiments. When you hear about it, you want it, and obviously Clear Bra is on a rise. I think if we were to hit some sort of bad economic times, I think window film would be more resilient in a bad economic time. For, like you said, Michael, because the price point's lower, and I can go without paint protection. I really can't go without tint. I really can't.
Look,
that's an accurate statement.
We saw that during COVID, right? We paid very close attention to every market, and we were concerned, as everybody was, what's going to happen to our industry? What's going to happen to Xpel in particular? And yet, the window film continued to sell constantly, and it is a lower ticketed item for us. So for us, of course, it may ultimately represent a lower total dollars in cents per box, but the fact of the matter is the number of boxes going off the shelf was more dramatic. Our tint business grew over 100% month over the same period the year before, throughout COVID. With all that going on, it still happened. So you're right. There's no doubt that window film is going to always have that opportunity.
That's all it was. Is I'm just, for the audience that's watching, all I'm trying to do is create awareness to the industry that paint protection is definitely increasing. But I still, my heart and soul is always going to be dedicated to window tint because the price point is easier to attract. It's the bait when you go fishing. It's easier to attract that bait than it is to attract the other bait. That's all I was basically doing, is just in this question was coming up with the awareness of where we need to be this year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. People in the industry have asked me many, many times, because I've been in the industry for 30 years, where do they see this industry going and where do they see it becoming? And they always ask, hey man, I want to get into this business. Do you think I should really get into paint protection? And they're a big window tint organization. And I say, guys, do you do paint protection currently? No, but I want to get into it. Then I want to get into detailing and ceramic coating and paint correction. I said, well, how much is it going to take away from your existing business model? And they go, well, I don't know. I'm going to have to send some people to training, and I'm going to have to send them to school, and I'm going to have to do all this. And I said, well, brother, if you're killing it with window tint, there's no reason though you can't just hire somebody that has experience doing paint protection, pay them very, very good, and just bring them on board. A lot of guys are trying to get started in one or the other. What I'm starting to see is a lot of the window tinting companies are wanting to get into paint protection. A lot of paint protection companies are now wanting to get into window tint. So leading into a further question down the road, they do coincide, but one usually is better at it than the other. Like one guy is not awesome at paint protection, and he's awesome at window tint. It's usually you find a window tint guy that all of a sudden lucked into doing paint protection, or a paint protection guy that said, hey, I found a good window tinter and now I'm doing window tinting. So just for the audience, I just want to basically bring awareness that both have a lot of upside, but my personal belief is window tint is going to have the longevity for the price point, and mainly because of the price point and the harder it is to train an installer to do paint protection. And that was the only thing that I had to add on that question. And moving on, Eric, what was the next question we've got, buddy?
So that's kind of right in line with the next question, which is, do y'all think that the industry is moving towards a one-stop shop? So shops that carry window tint, PPF coatings, and so on. And can shops continue to thrive and not and survive by just specializing in window film or just specializing in PPF?
Chris, you're on the road all the time, looking at shops in and out. What's your thought process on that?
So, I mean, again, just look at Xpel, right? We've decided that it was important for us to not just be specialists in paint protection film and dominate that market. We decided that window film was just too heavy a market. And like Mike said, like there's just too much opportunity there. So what did we do? We got into the automotive window film and then, of course, also the flat glass films, right? And then we got into ceramic coatings. And we want that client, that Xpel client, to have that one-stop shop full Xpel experience. And Mike Burke is obviously a window tint specialist by heart, and so is the majority of his operation. But then you now look at how much paint protection film they're banging out, and then they got in, and they were subletting the coating before, and now they're not. Right now they brought that in house as well. So I would say that you can for sure survive as a tint shop without the other two, because there's so much tint opportunity always going on. You might unfortunately lower your price point in order to be that competitive individual, but at the end of the day, having that one-stop shop opportunity is what you need. And at the end of the day, if you don't have the facility or you don't have the financial ability to go ahead and get into those things, make sure you find yourself an incredible third-party person who can. Right, you can pull somebody in to do wholesale work for you on something else, but if you're not offering it at that store level, the customer quite often is looking for the store that is. They only want to go to one store to get everything done, hold them fully accountable, drop off the car once, and pick it up completed, right? And so I do think that one-stop shop is definitely the better way if you can afford to do it all. Yeah.
Kyle, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
You personally started tinting windows after you installed paint protection on helicopters and aviation. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And who actually taught you how to tint windows?
A subcontractor I had in a business, and his name's Tony Stewart, not the race car driver, just the tinter. And
okay,
so he taught me, and it was good. It was fast, and yeah.
What was easier to learn, tint or paint protection?
Tint, 100% tint.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a lot less expensive to learn too.
Well, it's easier when you make a mistake. It's less costly. The question, Kyle, is this: when you first started, did you start off as Clear Bra and tint and ceramic coating all in one, or did you kind of a la carte before you got started?
No, just as you guys have pointed out. So I started off as PPF, and then when I got my first brick and mortar shop, I subcontracted the window tint, because I got so many people that were asking for it. So I subcontracted window tint. And then as the business was there, then I found a window tinter I hired and did that. So I was still stronger suited in the PPF, and that's what I did. So we hired a window tinter to keep that rolling.
How long before you started adding ceramic coating?
Added a window tinter in 2015. And added ceramic coating at SEMA of 2016.
Just for the audience, because a lot of people probably don't know you, Kyle, you're one of the industry leaders in this industry. Just for all collective purposes, what's a gross year in sales for you right now?
2.6.
2.6, and that is a staff of how many?
24 people.
24 people. Okay, and this is one building that you currently do everything in?
Yeah, it's one unit. Well, 3 units that are connected together, about 11,000 square feet.
Awesome. I believe that the longevity of this business, like Chris said, is obviously going to be the commercial space that is available for a guy that does window tinting, paint protection, and ceramic coating. Because what I found is I had built my entire company, Sunstoppers, around window tinting, okay? We added on paint protection like we add on a purse or earrings or a watch. It's an accessory to our business. It wasn't my business model. Then we added on ceramic coating through a third party. We were sourcing it out through a very good local vendor that would come in and do work for us. And then when we tried to partner with that person, it just didn't work out. So we ended up going in-house and doing it ourselves, which was a huge learning curve. I did actually prefer to sub out the corrections and the coatings at first. But as you know, there's a lot of margin in that part of the business, and a lot of people don't want to give up that margin. We're a leading source for leads. I spend probably 4 times to I'm not saying I'm exaggerating, but 4 to 10 times is probably not inaccurate of what we spend more than the competition in Charlotte and the surrounding areas for advertising. My cost per lead is probably double what everyone else spends, but I have a huge mouth to feed. So if I'm not advertising and I'm not spending money to generate those leads, in return, I was giving those ceramic coating leads and corrections to a third party, and they were eating into my margins so much that I was forcefully had to play my hand to get those in-house. But yes, I do think that it's nice on our part because I do have the best of both worlds. I have 3 stores that I consider mega stores that do paint protection. They have a dedicated booth, a dedicated bay specifically for paint protection. They have a dedicated bay specifically for tint. And then I have a dedicated area for ceramic coatings and paint corrections. So I'm very fortunate to have 3 stores in Charlotte that all have 3 dedicated spaces for each dedicated process. But I do still have multiple window tinting facilities that only do window tinting. And I do love the simplicity of those facilities because it's a less manpower, it's less moving parts, it's order window tint only. We've got a plotter, we've got a front counter, we've got a technician. It's very seamless in the tinting process. The paint protection takes a lot of scheduling. It takes a lot of preparation. It takes a lot of planning. So if you don't have your stuff together, paint protection is harder to manage, in my opinion, than tint is. But yes, it is nice for me on the retail side to actually have seen all of it. And there has a pro and con. If I was just a window tinting shop in this industry and I'm a listener or someone on this audience right now, I would probably try to sub out stuff and stay a window tinting shop unless you have the facility to support it.
Yeah, I think definitely analyzing the facility you have and the type of business you want to have and the type of day you want to have and so on is important because if you're looking to add ceramic coatings or PPF to your tint business because you want to make more money, make sure that everything aligns with you actually making more money once you add that there because, if you have a small facility, PPF's a drop-off pickup type deal. How much space does that take? How many tints could be done? Is this going to be a new skill you learn yourself? Do you enjoy that and you want to say, hey, I don't mind. I'm going to have a car in here for 3 days, but it's going to be a $5,000 ticket and I'm it. Or are you going to now be bringing somebody in, whether you hire them or sub them out? Understand that takes time, it takes space, it takes energy, and make sure at the end it makes you money. And I think that everybody should just kind of keep in mind when you're thinking like, if I want to get into ceramic coating, if I want to get into PPF, is it because I want to, because I want to make more money? Is it because I want to, because I want to be able to satisfy that segment of the market that wants that $6,000 one-stop shop or $8,000 shop? Or is it because I see fancy looking shops and very great looking photography on Facebook and they're doing PPF, so I should do PPF too. I love how their floor, so I should do ceramic coating. Because if you're kind of being chased by a carrot, that is going to be really unfulfilling because it doesn't work out that way.
Eric, just to hit on that point, I've been in the industry a very long time, and in the last 3 years being partners with Xpel, I actually had the opportunity to travel with Chris Hardy and see some shops up and down the East Coast.
And China.
And in China. Yeah, we actually
went
saw
to China.
We did go to China. We actually worked in some paint protection facilities in China that will blow your mind. You would think you are at the Ritz-Carlton of the 5-star, and if they could have a 10-star resort hotel, that's what they have in China, and it's ridiculous. They have misters, they have drains, they have dedicated bays, they have these. It's just insane. how well put together they do it in China. We still have a lot to learn on how they do it, but like literally they'll put $500,000 into a facility and they do full car, full car, full car, full car. They don't do partials. There's no such thing as partials in China. It's full car, full car, full car, full car. They'll tint, which is like, okay, but paint protection off the charts. And I asked the guy, I said, man, why do you guys do so many full cars? He goes, have you seen how many people drive cars in China? I said, yeah. Do you see how many parking spaces are available in China? Cars will bump each other out of the way just to make a parking spot in China. It was very entertaining to see. But as your point earlier, a lot of guys are going, and I'm not saying this in any negative way, they're going broke. And I'm saying that with the utmost respect on trying to create a facility to one up the Instagram guys, the big guys, the big boys. They're always trying to make the thing so nice, so pretty, so better, that they're living for today and not planning for tomorrow, even though their facilities are amazing. But when you have overhead that is so high, and if you ever see a dip in the market, I'm not sure how much money these guys got, and I hope they have a lot, but it makes it harder to sustain. That's all I'm saying. And it's beautiful. And don't get me wrong, I can afford a nice shop, but I'm very envious and jealous of some of these shops I see on Instagram. And I'm like, man, God, I wish I had that, or I wish I could do that, or man, that's so awesome. It's almost like seeing a Lamborghini ride by and going, man, I know I can afford it, but I'd be divorced. I would live in a single apartment downtown with one couch, and but I could drive a Lamborghini. And then, so I just want people to be careful that it's all about the rate of return of your store. It's all about making slow improvements. You don't have to go mortgage the bank to turn around and try to compete with people that are on Instagram that have been doing this for 10 years. You don't know where their money came from. Kyle, you can probably tell me right now, when you first started, you didn't have the facility that you have now.
I didn't. I was in this. I call it the lean-to of buildings that I was in for the first 2 years, and I also worked a full-time job. I was a sales rep for a medical device company for 6 years as I grew my company, and all of that money in the company I put back into it to grow it to what it is now. And I've got a pretty nice facility. And
your facility is actually one I'm jealous of, but it's okay.
Thanks, man. But the way that happened was, if we're trying to give tips and help these listeners out, you can't be lazy. Nobody got to where they're at on the top of whatever market they're in by being lazy or just stumbling into it. 80 hours a week was normal for me for years and years. And I have 4 little kids that we raised during the time. So it's how bad do you want it, and work to get what you want. And just like you said, Burke, you don't have to go mortgage it. There are other ways to figure it out and do it over time. I started in the building that we're at now. We were in 1 unit and built it out. And then we grew into the next unit. And then we now grew into the 3rd unit. And we didn't do it all at once. So
it's smart advice. Eric, what do we got next, man? What's the next question, buddy?
What are the biggest contributing factors to Xpel's explosive growth explosive year-over-year growth in the last 3, 4, 5 years, maybe longer?
Chris Hardy.
No, that's
Chris Hardy.
not fair.
What's the ingredients? What is it?
I'd like to take all the credit, of course, but it's look. The main reasons are fairly straightforward. Xpel, in the past had obviously been known as a pattern company, and in fairness, right? That's what we did start as. And then we started distributing film on behalf of another manufacturer, and then we decided, hey, it's time to start doing our own. And we had been at the time selling our DAP, which is our patterns, to anybody and everybody. They did pay a premium if they weren't using our film. And we looked at that and we thought, hey, this is a great revenue generator. When I got to Xpel in October of 2017, it was one of the first things that really bothered me, because in Canada, with my business partner David and I, we have a couple of Protex franchises. Those franchises are now owned by Xpel, but they weren't at the time. They were owned by Matt Moreau. And and you had to be 100% exclusive with Xpel in order to come on board. And it was, and I'm seeing that weird thing down here that I hadn't seen before called Cut Bank. And I'm like, what is that Cut Bank? And I'm like, oh, well, that's where people go ahead and spend $1 per square foot to be able to cut another brand of film. And we're talking paint protection film. And I'm like, hold on. So you're literally helping the other brands put their film on the vehicles with these fantastic patterns, and you're literally building their business for them. And they're like, well, we don't think so, but I understand what you're saying that way. So I was basically the guinea pig, right? I was running 15 states at the time on the East Coast. And what we did was I basically went through the 15 states and said, hey guys, I'm sorry, but I'm shutting off DAP. You're not going to have access to Cut Bank. I didn't shut off DAP. Mike Burke was definitely one of the first ones I did it with. And I said that the end is coming. The idea of you using another brand of film using our software isn't going to fly with me. And even though we're charging a little bit extra for it, I'd much rather make $4.75 a square foot for film than I would $1 a square foot for some software. And when I did that, of course there was some pushback. Some of these guys have been in this business for years and years and years with Xpel since they were just a pattern company, and here was this new guy coming around saying, hey, I don't want you using our patterns anymore, using another film. But over the course of maybe a year or so, it was really obvious how successful this was, and the pushback was really minimal. People understood it. Like if I explain it as a fellow shop owner, I'm like, look, as a fellow shop owner, Kyle, if I ask Kyle, would you go ahead and give your number one competitor your number one ammunition that you use against them in essence and hand it over to them, even if you provide it for a little bit of a premium? Would you really do that? The answer is no. It would be illogical to do so, and that's what I felt we were doing. So when I put it into the context that they understood it, everybody at least respected it. Shut off the Cut Bank, and immediately the Xpel corporates saw this insane rise. And then I said, well, hold on a second, because there's something else that Xpel does that's different than the rest of the competitors. And look, let's be very clear about this. There are some amazing competitors out there. I have a huge love for 3M. I have a huge love for Eastman. I think both those companies are fantastic, with phenomenal people behind them and on the ground working with them. And I know that those are my two most dominant competitors, but I knew that we were doing some things differently. And one of the things was, of course, our style of marketing, right? We're in DuPont Registry. We're in automotive news. We've been doing Barrett Jackson's forever. We've been doing, Jeep Jamboree Fest and BMW Car Club and Porsche Car Club and all these events. And Monterey Weekend, endless. And it was the idea of, look, we had created this non-yellowing, self-healing film that nobody else had on the market yet. We could go around to all the stores and try and convert them. This was back in 2011. Or we can instead, and we'd have to hire an insane sales force to do that, or we can instead start letting the customers know, right? And let them go and be our voice instead, saying, hey, I'm looking for that non-yellowing, self-healing film. And so that strategy of marketing is what's really paid off. And then you have conversions, right? You go to these operations like Sunstoppers, which of course are extremely well known. Kyle at Clear Bra Indy. You've got Eddie at Detailing Dynamics, Automotive Elegance. Protective Film Solutions. You've got some major players, and you say to them, "Look, like we want you to be nothing but Xpel. We don't want you to represent anything but us, and that is all lines." And by doing so, we will give you something back in return. And, that's always up to the territory manager to figure that out. But in essence, it's the idea of trying not to put their most direct competitor in against them, right? And being a little territorial and protecting them. And so, look, it's a marriage, right? I'm not going to date and you're not going to date. And how do you feel about that? That went over really well, really well. I think that at least 90%, if not 95% of the people that I had that conversation with immediately gravitated towards it and took that opportunity. And, we could pop endless people onto this call right now who would say that, and I think they're incorrect, but they would say that they've doubled and tripled and quadrupled their business in the last 2, 3, 4 years. And they would say it's because of Xpel. And I'm going, no, it's because of you, and the marriage with Xpel has helped that out. And Mike Burke is definitely one of those people. I get to see his numbers personally year over year, and it's really exciting for me to on the manufacturing side to see it, and to know that this is what David and I did back home. With our 3 operations, that's how we approached it. We like the idea that a customer comes in and they see a single brand on the wall, not 3 or 4 or 5, and the customer's sitting there going, well, why in the world world are you selling me this brand and not the other one? Is it because you have too much inventory? Is it because you're trying to clear that stuff out? Is it because that manufacturer is giving you a kickback? What is going on? This is the selection for me. So I then what happened was corporate started gravitating towards my business model, enjoying it, thinking, wow, it really did work. And let's see if we push this out to everybody else, how it will come across. And January 1st of 2020, it's now the official business model of the United States of America for Xpel. It already was for Canada. And, we're I think, if not mistaken, if it isn't already, it's going to be the worldwide program as well. And as much as those other companies are doing fantastic and great companies, it is a reality that Xpel has drastically outpaced them in growth.
Well, all I can tell you is I went to dealer conference and Chris Hardy, grabbed me, snagged me. We did a Guinness World Record in window tint together, and we became kind of friends, sort of. I don't know. He had a crush on me, and I had a crush on him.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, I had a crush. It was a man crush. It's all good. But when he was leaving dealer conference, he goes, "Hey, Burke, I know you got a little extra money in the bank." He said, "Man, you need to go ahead and buy that Xpel stock." It was like $283 a share. And I said, "Oh, okay, cool." So I go home. I call my broker. I say, "Hey, man, I need to buy some Xpel stock." And the guy goes, "Hey, man, it's on some weird, exchange, and your brokerage
Toronto
account,
Stock Exchange.
your brokerage account doesn't support it. It's a risky stock. You sure you want to buy it?" He was over there trying to talk me out of it, right? He was like, "Bro, this stuff's like garbage. It's $2, $3, whatever." And I was like, yeah, I want to buy it. Well, it took me literally a couple months to buy it. It was $6 by the time I could actually buy the stock. It was ridiculous. And it had doubled since he told me. And $27, I think it was not too long ago. Off
Over
of
$30
$6.
just a couple weeks. Yeah, a week ago it was over $30.
Yeah. So, I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about here? We're talking about a company that went from $3 to 27. I don't care who you are. That's pretty badass. But Xpel, man, I'm going to chime in just for a second. We'll get on to the next question. I'm sure that Kyle will probably say the same thing. The secret to success of Xpel, and why has it dominated the industry and grown a lot here in the last couple of years? Number one is dealer conference. Number two is loyalty. Number two is a brotherhood of people in the industry like Chris, who come from the industry, who speak real. They speak real, and they come into your store not like they used to be some other industry, and they come in, want to take you to lunch or whatever, but they bring real knowledge. They bring real success, and their primary objective is to see your business grow at some type of percentage year over year. That's their number one objective. Every client that buys window film, Xpel paint protection, or any type of product from Xpel, the reps and the people at home office, their number one goal is to generate leads for you, generate customer awareness of the brand from the consumer to you, and also help you in strategic planning and growth of your own existing company. So when you have a coach and a spokesperson as a sales rep who adds fire and fuel to your business every single day when you get on the phone, I was kind of a sleeping giant. I was a guy that was very, very happy with Suntech. Very happy. I was buying a lot of film, had a lot of stores. I was stagnant. I was that water that was just sitting there having a blast, just chilling. I was racing dirt bikes with my son. I didn't have a care in the world, man. We were tinting windows, doing PPF, whatever. It was all good. Next thing you know, I meet Chris Hardy, and the dude just absolutely challenged me. And when he started challenging me, it was in business. And I was like, he's like, "Burke, you're better than this. Burke, you're stronger than this. You can do more. You can do this." And it was just nice to have someone pull that out of me. And all of a sudden, we switched, and my business doubled. So all I can tell you is it's the people behind those black shirts that come into your store. They actually have a passion for your success. and that means a lot. When you get a rep that comes in and he wants to hand you a couple of squeegees and wants to hand you some koozies and says, "Hey man, call me if you need anything," that's great. That works. They're great people. But all I can tell you is that it was nice to be challenged. It was nice to go in a boxing match. And like, I don't know if you've ever seen a UFC fight. Chris and I've actually been in the UFC, right? We've been to a few fights together.
Few of them, yeah.
You feel it, okay? So imagine having a fighter come out of the cage and look at another fighter in the audience and go, "I respect you. I know you can whoop ass and I know you're tough, but I'm challenging you to a fight." And that's how I felt when I met Chris Hardy. I was like, he was challenging me to a fight. And I was like, all right, you want to see what I can do? All right, dude, watch out.
So, Eric, I need to interrupt. It's actually somewhat accurate that I did challenge him literally to a fight. Well, it's more accurate that he challenged me. He has an MMA background. I have an MMA background. I still compete in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And he said, "Tell you what, brother, you come on up to Charlotte, put your boxing gloves on, go a round or two with me in the ring, and we'll see how I end at the end." And I knew I was going to get my ass kicked. Let's be very honest. Because he's more of the stand-up guy, and I prefer the ground. But I said, "Tell you what, I'll come put the boxing gloves on, but if I do that, I at least earn the right to earn your business." And he said, "Yep." And then I said, "On top of that, we have to promise me that you're going to do a jiu-jitsu match with me as well, because even though you can see he's quite a bit bigger than me, I have a little bit more awareness in jiu-jitsu than he did." So that's what we did, and it was part of it. But, you know, for on behalf of Xpel, look, it's from the top down. Let's not get each other. I mean, Ryan Paper's our CEO. The man is an absolute genius. He doesn't micromanage his people. Yes, he holds them accountable. And then, you know, you get to Matt Moreau and you get to Rob Besner and you get to my boss, Mike Mail. And here's a guy who, again, like Mike's saying, the guy owned his own shop, very successful operation in Vegas. And they bring him on board to head up the director of sales. And the guy is just a killer. But he doesn't dictate how you have to interact with your clients, right? He lets every single territory and rep that he has underneath them manage they have to follow a business acumen, but they get to do it in their own individual style, and that's what works.
Sure. If you hire the right people, you can let them be them. If you hire the wrong people, you have to try and control them like minions, and that does not work, and silence them. And yeah.
And to add this, Kyle, how long have you been partners with Xpel?
Since 2011, when they launched Ultimate, the original Ultimate film.
Okay. Who'd you use before?
3M.
Okay. And your success rate with Xpel has been great?
Fantastic. It's been great. And it's like a partnership with Xpel, and they're not just delivering you a product or placing an order for you. They have your best interest in heart, and they're going to battle for you. We have done so many auto shows and installs, offsite installs. I think we actually started the first offsite install with Xpel back in 2015 at Porsche Parade. And it's been amazing that Xpel, that grassroots marketing style they have to gain more business for not just you, for everybody in the industry. So Xpel has been fantastic.
I think it's clear. Like, I know 5-6 years ago, for me, it was clear to me that you could no longer brand your company the brand of product you carried. You didn't want to open a Lumar store. You didn't want to open a 3M. In my opinion, I didn't want to. And I felt like, you know, while they had a stronghold to be able to keep you as that before, they've completely lost that sort of, they weren't providing the value to make that sort of thing an opportunity anymore. It became kind of a joke. And I feel like Xpel is the first company, like, has emerged to where if you can have an Xpel store and you can put Xpel on it, that actually is better than putting, you know, Eric's window tint on the sign, because at the end of the day, there's going to be more people out there that are going to trust my store because they see it's an official Xpel store than I'm going to be able to build over time with the reputation of Eric. You know, it's a real standout.
I can just tell you this.
I mean, look at. Go ahead. Sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, I apologize. To me, I was just going to add one thing. Xpel's the sexy brand.
Yeah, it's like you saying, do you want to build your own coffee shop? Okay, you can, but Starbucks is willing to let you have a franchise. What do you want to do? I'd go Starbucks. Put the Starbucks sign on my. Let's do it, man! Like right now, And I feel like that's what Xpel's done because I can't. There's not another brand that I would say, yeah, paint the walls, put the sign. This is just going to be that brand on my building. But if you did that with Xpel, it would be a magnet because why would
I
if I'm
agree.
going to take my car somewhere, I'm not going to take it to John's Tint that's an Xpel dealer. I would go to the one that's painted with Xpel and says Xpel everywhere and looks like they're more integrated with the brand because that's I know where the people want Xpel. It's actually a brand where they're looking for it, and there's very very few of those, and I don't think any on the caliber.
Question:
No,
What's
and
the
I
go
don't think
ahead,
so.
but
I think it's
I'll say this real quick, and that is that in fairness to the other two big brands, right, the Eastman and the 3M, they really are starting to pay attention to that, and you're seeing a little bit more of that from them as well. And I applaud them for it. Look,
a
we're
little
we're
bit
aware of
more
the
though.
competition; it's very healthy, and congratulations to them, obviously, for jumping on the same bandwagon. I think we've obviously got the leg up because we've been doing it for a lot longer. And, it's really hard to not be fair to each other and say, look, who's not going to recognize the 3M logo, right? I mean, that brand is worldwide recognized as well.
It is,
But at the end
but
of the day, the fact is that the demand and is on the consumer side, I think is fair to say that it's most dominantly for Xpel than anything else. Yeah.
it's fading with the
Eric?
other brands. It's fading. Go ahead.
Eric, what do we got coming up next? What's the next question, buddy?
Manufacturers' lifetime warranties. How should shops and manufacturers handle warranty claims after a dealer has left that film brand?
It's a very difficult question. A lot of guys that Eric, Kyle, I don't know if you heard this or not. Did you hear the next question?
How to handle warranties if you switch companies? Is that right?
Yeah, how
Read the
manufacturers
question
should
again,
handle
Eric.
it. Sure. For manufacturers like lifetime warranties or any warranty, how should the shops and how should the manufacturers handle warranty claims if they've parted ways and they're using a different film?
Well, I mean, if you want to have that customer for life and you still want to grow your business with that referral type process, then you absolutely, no question whatsoever, you tell that customer, hey, we're not using the film anymore, but I'll replace this film and we'll put this film on. We switch to it because it's a better film or whatever the reason is, but you take care of that customer 100% if you want to keep that customer for life. Otherwise, you shoot yourself in the foot and you start the process of closing your business down.
Here's the thing that I got to add to that, Kyle, is okay, I'm a window tinting shop. It's just me. I've got a little storage unit in the back. I've got 3 rolls of film. I've been using, let's just say, XYZ window film for years. And I paint my store. I finally get a little bit nicer facility, but I'm still tinting every car myself. My wife helps me out, or girlfriend, or whatever. And I just don't have a lot of money. I mean, I have a divorce. I have to pay child support. And I can barely buy, 4 or 5 rolls a month or week or whatever. And I'm not struggling, but I'm not a top tier guy. Okay. And I'm your average little window tinting shop that buys maybe $30,000-$40,000 a year in materials, maybe 20 to 30. I do maybe 120 grand a year in sales.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really afford to warranty 5 or 6 back windows a month. What do you do?
I mean, are you, if you're only tinting
3 cars a day.
Yeah.
You've been in business for 5 years, and you have a little small facility in the middle of somewhere, and you're just barely getting by. You're doing what you can. You built a good reputation of quality. You know what you're doing, but you just can't afford to keep buying and using film and wasting a 2 or 3 hour facility that you could be making money to support your family. But then all of a sudden, what do you do?
Well, I think I don't think I'm the right person to answer that because we do a decent amount of window tint, and I've never replaced 5 back windows in a month. So I think it starts with a quality film. Now, if you're using a very cheap window film,
Well, not to cut you off, but the question is basically if you're with a manufacturer of window film that you were using for years, now all of a sudden it was an entry-level film. It was something you could afford. It was a little cheaper than everybody else. You're in a low discount facility. You're in a low discount tent shop, and you're doing the best you can to get going. But now you've seen on Instagram, you've seen on Facebook, you've now improved. You now are a better facility. You now are starting to make improvements, and you go, you know what? I now want to not be Kia. I now want to try to be a Lexus. And so I'm now upgrading and spending 20% more in material. But all of a sudden, 2 years later, after you switched to the new model, new brand, and kind of going, and now you have all these old people from back in the day coming out of the woodwork wanting to get windows redone, and you can't afford to redo it, but you don't have a good relationship with the first film company. How is the best way to handle that?
I think that I don't know. I don't have an option.
All you can do is
I'll tell you what I say to clients when they switch, because that's the majority of my day, right? Is people that are. It's not the majority of my day in terms of new opportunities is not people getting into the industry. It's people that are in the industry and keep hearing about Xpel, and they're sick and tired of not having that brand and all the clients that are coming and demanding it. Okay. So I always tell them from the beginning, look, you're going to have some warranty claims, and the first thing you're going to talk to me about is how much window film you might already have on hand. And I'm going to say to you, great, you need to keep some of that, because for those warranty claims that come in, that is going to be the best way to handle it, right? And that you're going to have you don't want to rip, if you switch from one brand to another, the colors and the VLTs and things like that are always a little different. So what do you want to do? If you have to replace one window that got broken in because there was a smash and grab, thinking there was a gun in the car or something like that, and now you got to replace just that one window, even if it's just for insurance purposes, it's not even a warranty. Well, are you going to rip off all the other pieces of film in order to just do that one and match the color? No. So, number one is obviously keep some inventory on hand. Number two is that almost all the window film manufacturers, other than ourselves and I believe Autobahn, although I'm sure I'll be standing to be corrected after I say this, do not have transferable warranties, right? And the average consumer in the U.S. does not keep a car past 3.1 years, whether it's new or used that they purchase it. 3.1 years is the average ownership of a vehicle. So you're not talking that long in reality, on average. And so all those film warranties that were non-transferable, which is the vast majority of film out there, you're probably not going to see that issue happen. And I mean, I realize that we're maybe thinking of one specific person who's recently undergone some issues, and we definitely will not mention film brands or anything on here in order to be rude or call anybody out or make it look like we're favoriting, being favorites. But again, you got to plan for it. You really do. And I tell people from the beginning when they're switching, do not get rid of everything you have. Keep some on the shelf, and be prepared just in case. And charge enough that you have an insurance policy built in place for those issues. Look, a lot of times you're redoing something. Why, Mike? You've done this. You've had clients show up and show you one tiny little speck in the entire piece of glass, and it's driving them crazy. Well, what's your policy? No problem, Mr. Customer. We're just going to make you happy. Let's rip that film up and we'll redo it right in front of you. No problem. Let's get you happy and let's get you back out the door. So you need to charge enough, right? And this is the problem with the shops that don't charge enough, right? The shops that think that it's all about trying to gain the client from the lowest price point possible. They don't have that buffer built in to take care of clients properly down the road. Whether it's an unrealistic request or a realistic request, doesn't matter. So I know that nobody's going to have a perfect answer on this question. It's a very tough question, but it's a valid question, and I hope that my answer was at least somewhat illuminating.
Here's the thing that I found being in the industry for 32 years. There's not a single manufacturer on the planet that I know of that has not had some type of material bought in polyester or glue or something that had, in the longevity of how long ever they've been in business, that had some type of failures somewhere down the road. Every one of them have owned it, have brought up to the attention. I mean, when I was with Johnson Window Films 30 years ago, they would get a call a year later. Hey, man, we just had a bad run of glue. You might have this particular film come back. Let us know. They kind of pre-warn you when they start finding out that there's some issues. There's not that many manufacturers of window film in the world. All of them buy polyesters and dyes, and at least years and years ago they did. They only had like limited sources to buy this. Now some are making it themselves, and the industry's actually improved. The manufacturing processes have improved. The products have improved. Ceramic coating, ceramic tint, nanoparticles embedded into the film. There's been major improvements. Like I look back at when I first started tinting windows to now, and it's like I tell people all the time, what customers that come in my store, I go, listen, go look at the very first iPhone, the very first Apple iPhone, and then go look at the iPhone today. I said, guys, what are we talking about here? I said, that's kind of what's happened in the window tinting industry is the films have improved that much. So I don't foresee in the future that there's going to be as many claims or warranties in the future as there was 5, 6, 8, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that, Eric? Eric, what's your opinion
Yeah,
on that?
it makes total sense. Kind of back to the original question, your choices are you take care of your customer. That should be the one you do. And, you deal with the manufacturer however you deal with them. If you can't afford to do that, you put yourself in a terrible position for your customers, and that's probably just not going to work itself. I mean, at that point, you're, shoveling water out of your boat, and hopefully you don't sink, but it's not pretty, you know?
That's a great question. I mean, that was a great answer. But what's the next question, Eric?
Next question, we have two more, and this one is, should there be something, and this is along that line, should there be something like a Better Business Bureau, a review platform specifically for our industry to rate manufacturers, possibly dealers? The big question, and this was actually a comment in your post, Michael Burke, by Jeff Phillips from Xpel, obviously, who fairly interprets the situations? That was his wording, and I really thought that sums it up, because the question really shouldn't be, should that exist or should it not exist? I think there's probably a need for something like that. It could probably help a lot of people. But the big question is, who fairly interprets the situations?
A non-biased source that can turn around and say, okay, we're going to give a rating of all the window film manufacturers, all the paint protection, and be a non-biased, like an
What is their motive if
study.
they're non-biased? Like, what is their motive to do it? Because if we look, I'm just saying, if we look at this, to me, this is like a government, essentially. You're starting to build, how can we regulate? How can we improve the climate of a industry? And that's what governments do. And I'm just saying, typically, I see them being disasters. So the question is, who pays that person? Why do they wake up in the morning and want to do this? And how do we keep them non-biased? Because typically, nothing stays non-biased.
The reason we talked earlier off the show is we came up with a series of questions was this. You have Consumer Reports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Consumer Reports basically does an independent study of all different types of products. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Who is our Consumer Reports for the industry?
The consumers themselves, unfortunately, because at the end of the day, the fact is that you and I both know, especially through social media platforms, if nothing else, word travels real fast, right? And negative interactions, as we know on social media, can have a big impact on your business. Plus competition. Look, there's more competition in paint protection film today than there was 5 years ago by a long shot. Last year at SEMA, I couldn't get over how many different organizations were offering paint protection film, and I'm sure the same is true for window tint. And it's endless. How many different brands or boxes somebody could buy from. So hopefully, as one company is getting better and really starting to run away with it, I think maybe we'd point out Xpel as that company right now. Or do you think the others aren't paying attention to it? Of course they are, and they're looking at, hey, like we've got to be competitive against these guys and make sure that they don't continue to run away with the marketplace on us. So that's the assumption, and I don't know that that's fairly accurate. The other problem, of course, is how do you quantify it, right? Is it the color? Is it the performance? Is it as the installer, the installability of the film, scratch coatings, creasing, things of that nature, or is it the company as a whole? What's the most complete picture? Does this company have the right software, the right film and PPF, the right film and tint, the right film and flat glass, the ceramic coating, like all of this to go in as one picture? Maybe that's part of the criteria that somebody would be looking at and trying to get to. So I think as much as I would personally love to see something like a Consumer Reports, it's a magazine I loved as a younger individual. When I was buying something new, it was something I would refer to. I would love to see something like that happen. I'm just not sure how fair it would be, because there's so many different aspects to the installation. You're not just buying just a phone and going, hey, does it work? When I drop it, does it break? Hey, does the apps open up? How fast is the connectivity? You and I both know that installing paint protection film and window film is literally an art. It's an art.
Well,
So
Chris, I think
it's
the
hard to
question
quantify
is,
that.
Kyle, I've got this for you is on this question. It basically is this: if you, with the knowledge that you have in this industry, you've been in the industry how many years? You said, Kyle?
As a business, 11 years. As a installer since '99, so 21 years.
Okay, but you went from one brand to another brand. How many brands have you used in your longevity? 2 or 3?
PPF 4 brands and window film 3 brands.
Okay, and it's taking you the years that you have currently to now get to the level of success and the level and the brand that you're with now, but it's not who you started with.
That's correct.
This forum or this platform Eric provides with Tint Wiz, there are certain levels. There are your entry level, your medium guys, and then your elite guys. In any industry that you go to, I mean, you can go to the NFL and go say, okay, who's won the Super Bowl in the last 10 years? Who hasn't? Who has a winning record over the last 10 years? Every industry has its elite, successful people. It has its workhorse, and then it has its entry-level people. I think what I'm trying to get at is this with the question. We kind of know who the elite brands are, but there are a lot of Reeboks guys out there that Chris was making like awareness at SEMA, that there's so many companies from overseas, Korea, all these people coming in to invade into the U.S. market that are manufacturing not only paint protection, but window film as well. There's brands that I've heard of now in window film that I'm like, I've never heard of those people. Like, where did these people come from?
Right.
And so what I'm saying is that being in the industry for 30 plus years, for guys that are trying to now take this industry to the next level, the next generation, I guess your newcomers, your guys been 1 to 3 years, your 1 to 5 year guy. He's now started off with XYZ brand. Now he's on to ABC brand. How do we educate as a body, as a governed body of industry for window film and PPF? How do we rank? Because not, as Chris says, they have territorial rights and exclusivities. Your shop has to look a certain way. It has to be a certain image. So your entry-level guy that's a mobile window tinter that's now buying his first facility, he may not be available to buy Xpel film, even though that's what he wants. He wants a Maserati. He wants a Lamborghini. He can't get in. He can't get into the dealership right now. Yeah. So who are the first top 5 brands that maybe the elite guys or people can rank as saying, guys, if you're going to get started in the industry and you're going to be a 1 to 3 year guy, this company warranties their film. They stand behind their film. They have technical support. They're a good entry-level company to get involved in. And it's like, I wish that we could somehow figure out, like, these are the top 5 of the recommendations that are very reputable companies. They answer their phones. They take care of customer service. They do everything they're supposed to do. Because when I first got started in the industry, I used to use A-League Distributing. And my first window tint film was Pep Boys. And it was Gila. It was Gila film. And then all of a sudden I used A-League Distributing Solar Pro Tint out of Florida, which was a distributor house of reboxed film through a place called Cortals, which actually was the first company prior to Lumar. It was actually called Cortals. And I used to buy film from them when I was in high school. And when I first got myself a film that had professional hard coating, I was like, wow, I can squeegee it without scratching. This is amazing. Like, when I first started tinting window, it was so cheap and so thin that as soon as I put a squeegee on it, it scratched it. But what I'm saying is the industry's evolved, but I didn't have a lot of resources. I didn't have access to the Window Film magazine. I didn't have access to Tint Wiz. I didn't have access to all these things. So I was basically looking for a product. How do I buy a product that I can afford, that I can tint windows? And there's a lot of manufacturers out there and a lot of people out there that sell film. The question basically is this: can our industry support Consumer Reports or some type of registry or directory or something non-biased that says, okay, pros and cons of every single film company there is without getting in trouble. What do you guys think about that? I mean, what do you think about the future?
This is going to be hard for somebody to put together without being biased. Their Consumer Report has been so famous for so long because it's a non-biased call on the product, and they don't take any sponsorship dollars. Where in this day and age, with developing a quick list like that, that's going to be hard to do that without somehow being compensated from a manufacturer that wants on that list.
Question: are you a member of the IWFA?
Yes.
Have they done anything for you?
This seems like a loaded question, especially on the forum.
It's not a loaded question. What I'm saying is, when I first got started in the window film industry, it was nice to be on a locator like the IWFA. It was like when the internet first came out, and you would buy in and you would get your little news article in the mail, and you'd be like, I'm now a member of the IWFA. And I'm like, yes, I'm official. Yay. So all I'm saying is that the governing body, can they be an independent resource? I don't know. I'm not even a member of the IWFA because
Harry Ramon was on here last night, and he was a former treasurer and at one point a vice president of the IWFA, and we spoke about this subject. And one of the things he said was that IWFA is heavily funded by manufacturers. And I asked him to what extent, like, how does that transaction work? Like, what is the is it like, I know as a member, let's say you pay maybe $350 or $400 a year, but as a manufacturer, do you just drop off cash depending on how much pull you want? So like, you know what I mean? Like right there, and you go. The other thing is, if you say, okay, maybe it's going to take somebody who doesn't need the money and wants to just better the industry. There is that sort of angle of that person's probably going to make a lot of enemies through that process. And if they mishandle it in any way, it might be damaging. So it's such a big thing. And then the other side of that coin is if somebody haphazardly does it, it could be so damaging. So you maybe want to have somebody that's responsible start that process ahead of time. So it's one of those things. Look, it's I don't know if I want to look up reviews for a manufacturer. It's simple as that. I want to look up reviews. I don't really know where I could go to just let me just read some reviews. Like I don't know. And you tell me, does Xpel curate dealer reviews anywhere for other dealers to read? I don't know if other manufacturers do, but the problem with that is that makes sense not to do until someone does it. And it all takes is a company like Yelp, for example, and they can take a company who thought it was fine ignoring reviews and not being proactive and say, oh, this is going to be part of your life, whether you like it or not. And that's kind of where this, I don't know, it's kind of a little tornado.
Look at some of the Facebook forums, right? And somebody will put up a name, and it doesn't have to be Xpel. It can be anybody. And instantaneously, you get a flood of people responding to that, and they will say positive things and negative things, and then they'll just talk about other brands. It wasn't even a review anymore about the company that was being asked about. It became something completely different. It became a sales pitch on behalf of the manufacturer. And, it always drives me crazy. I can't stand seeing negative stuff on anybody. Whether it's Xpel or any of my competitors. I'm always sitting there and being a little suspicious when I read negative stuff about Xpel and I dive into the back end and I look at NetSuite and I go, well, hold on a second. Just yesterday you were begging for us for an account, and because we told you no because you were too close to Clear Bra Indy, now you're going on there and you're talking about how crappy we are and how amazing this other brand of film is. It's not an accurate portrayal, and I'm sure that that's happening to everybody else as well. I'm saying it's not just happening to Xpel. I've had some of my own stores, some of my own clients that have said at times, some negative things about another brand. I'm immediately texting that owner and saying, hey, let's hop on the phone. I want you to pull that down. Xpel does not appreciate that style of interaction, regardless of the fact you're not talking about us. We don't like our brand ambassadors being that way, and yeah, you might be a little jaded and what have you, and maybe you've got good cause and maybe you don't. But at the end of the day, it just never looks good on anybody, and that's my problem. I don't know, as wonderful and as beautiful as it would be to have something like that, Mike, I just don't know if any of us would ever trust it's real and accurate.
I understand that. That's a good analogy of the question. What's the next question, Eric?
Last question was about the International Window Film Conference in Tintoff. Do you think it should be? I mean, it's kind of a. Should it continue to be a yearly event? We probably are going to go a year and a half before this one, and maybe a year and a half after this upcoming one. And overall, is it losing or gaining popularity? Obviously, Xpel has their own dealer conference, and one question that kind of attaches to this that I just personally wanted to know was that's a big deal that you have such an event and you have such a well-produced event. You have the nicest cars at that event out of any. I mean, it's a real event, and I wondered if you were part of that or if you happen to know kind of that like big step to, hey, we're going to put on the event. This is a big deal. This is a big production, but it's worth it. We're going to do it because until now it's only been the IWF or the International Window Film Conference.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, the International Window Film Conference is amazing. You know, the reality is that if you're not there and you're a big player and suddenly you don't show up, it's going to look bad on you, right? Because somebody's going to be like, oh, they can't afford to be here or something's wrong, even though that's maybe not the case at all. You've just decided that it's not worth spending the money there. And I don't think any of the big boys are saying that. That's not what I'm suggesting. And at the end of the day, the competitions are fantastic, and to get to genuinely see some of the upcoming products that are coming out from your competitors is always wonderful. It's not like we don't have a lot of our competitors stepping into our booth, and we tend to be, and I think this is true for all the big boys, we tend to be quite friendly with each other. You know, it's funny because online everybody's been like, oh, you know, you guys must hate Suntech or Luma or 3M, and I'm like, what? No, what are you talking about? I have friends that work for that company. I have friends that work within 3M. We're okay, 9 to 5, we are competitors and we recognize that. But after hours, we have this admiration for each other as being, you know, very good individuals and good competitors against each other. Going back to our dealer conference legitimately is unbelievable. I can't speak to the other ones. What I can tell you is this: every single person that I've ever told to attend dealer conference, they have to be an Xpel. Typically, they've got to be an Xpel client, obviously already, right? But I let them know that there is nothing that they could attend that will do more for their business in an event like this than this. And the reason being is because Xpel doesn't sit there and talk about Xpel. Yes, Ryan Pape will get up in the beginning and, you know, he'll do a little overview of the year before and what's to come up for this year and maybe some exciting news. And we get to see a little bit from marketing, obviously, which is always exciting to go, hey, where are we going to put some energy and efforts? And you should probably piggyback that. But the rest of the event is all about how can we help you build your business. We bring in major guest speakers. This year, we're bringing in arguably one of the most well-known people right now in the automotive industry, which is Richard Rawlings, right? This guy is, I love his television show, you know, Gas Monkey Garage, and he's becoming a really well-known individual, but he's also a phenomenal guest speaker. And, you know, we're bringing him as our main guest speaker. We're bringing in Jared Gines, who's a Facebook specialist, an incredible individual. We have all these breakout sessions. We have 9 breakout sessions with these independent little rooms where there's specialized topics. And in that room, it's going to be like how to hire and train, how to excel within Xpel management for your own individual operation, how to, you know, improve the bottom line, how to advanced tint training, advanced PPF training, ceramic coating and paint correction training. All this stuff is all part of our event. Our event is not, let's stand up on a stage for 2 days and talk about Xpel is the best ever and you should be with us, because you're already with us. It doesn't make sense to do that. And I know this, and that, you know, when Mike Burke attended his first dealer conference, I saw it in his face. It was sold, you know, in coming on board with Xpel, and it was because of what he was saying much earlier in the conversation, is that I do know that Xpel's main focus is not about just us. It's about how can we help you get there. And you know, what's shocking for a lot of people, and I'm sure I can't reveal it, and I won't, but we collect money towards conference, right? We charge for it. There's an early bird special that's now over. Now it's gone to regular pricing, and people will sometimes look at the price and go, wow, like that's going to cost me a few bucks. And I go, what you don't know is that we're spending more than double that on you to attend. We lose like insanely more money to put on dealer conference than even SEMA, and you can imagine how much SEMA runs. And I'm sure that this year will be no exception. And yet we cherish the fact that we do this. We know that we get a lot out of it. Last year, our early bird number was in the 90s. This year we were over 250 attendees from early bird alone. So I'm looking forward to the fact that this is going to be by far our biggest theater conference ever. And, we're going to have an incredible time. And yes, there's all that camaraderie that goes on with it. But at the end of the day, every one of those accounts is going to go home with a notepad filled with ideas that they've picked up about how to improve their business, not only from us, but from those other fellow people within the industry, like Mike Burke, like Kyle, openly give back to the fellow Xpel shop and say, look, you're struggling with this. This is what I can do to help you out. I mean, I don't know if you're aware of, Ryan of Protective Film Solutions brought out this Film Talk Pro program. That thing is insane. And there's a great example of an Xpel guy. Yes, a little bit of a charge for it, but literally giving back to the community. Mike Burke is on the phone all the time with all these other shops. I know that Kyle's had the same situation with him. And even with me, again, like a lot of times I've got a situation going on. I'm like, well, look, this is what Dave and I did with our Protex businesses back home, or this is what we did with Excalibur. And sometimes I'll get Dave on the phone to answer questions for me and try and help them out. Or I might even get Julie, our director of operations, on the phone. This is theater conference is exciting. Everybody looks. The minute conference is over, people are group texting. Hey, when's next theater conference? I can't wait for it. I'm so looking forward to it. I think Eddie at Deep Feeling Dynamics about this, all in a group chat.
Hey, all I can tell you is the camaraderie and the brotherhood of people that I have met through Dealer Conference have now become lifelong friends outside of this business. As soon as I left Dealer Conference, within a month or two, I was flying to New York, hanging out with my buddy Eddie, and my buddy Danik, and Brett and Tiffany and Alex. And the thing is, when guys like Chris Hardy can bring a unified group of people together who are like-minded, it's never about our business anymore. It's about bringing guys who are passionate about what they do, who are good at what they do, but we now are part. I never really knew people like myself. I can't go down to the store and say, oh, I'm going to meet another banker or another BB&T or Bank of America bank teller. I can't turn around and call Salesforce and say, hey, man, or I need a front secretary manager that's gone through the same problems that I have in the last 10 years. We all have the same problems. We've all have the same labor issues, the same customers. And all we do at Dealer Conference is tell stories about our employees, about the experiences, about customers, about cars. It's just a big old frat party, to be honest with you. And it's awesome. Now, the question that we're talking about is not about Xpel Dealer Conference. Kyle, have you ever been to the International Window Tint Off competition?
Yes, this year when Indianapolis hosted it.
I was a judge that year.
Yes.
It was. I actually was very humbled at the fact that I was able to be a judge. I've been doing window tinting my entire life. I say since high school. I would say that I'm very good at it. We actually had a judges competition because we were scared that we gave too much, not enough time, but too much difficulty to the task of doing the quarter window and the window. And so all the judges kept second guessing, man, is that enough time? So we all had a little judges competition, and it was actually pretty cool. I'm not going to let you know who won, but it's okay. I did win. It's okay. No, it was a lot of fun, man. The guys that I met there, I literally, Daniel was one of the guys from Lumar. He was an awesome guy, and I think his name was Scott. I can't remember. I have to look back at my phone. He was with Solar Guard. Just some phenomenal people, man. They're industry guys. They're legends in the industry. They've been here for a long time, and just to get a group of guys like us together to brainstorm and think, I never knew there were so many little tiny specks in a window in my life. Like, I knew customers could find a speck, but man, as a judge, I had no idea what criteria I was up against. And it was amazing to learn the process. It was amazing to deal with the staff from Window Film Magazine. Those guys are absolutely phenomenal. Those girls do a fantastic job putting that event on. And I hope the industry will support the tint off. Now, just out of curiosity, Eric, do you know what the grand prize is for window tint at the tint competition to win at the International?
Not a clue. $5,000.
I think 5 or 10. Now, let me ask you a question. At dealer conference for Xpel, Chris, what's the grand prize for window tint competition first place?
So window tint is 5,000. Second place is 2,500, I believe. Third place is $2,000, and then $500 for third. And then we do provide $2,500 in free product to the store that the first place person came from. Our flat glass is the exact same, and our paint protection film, which of course is what we're obviously ultimately better known for originally, this year is a $10,000, and it's hard cash. It's 10 grand. Yeah, that's the first place prize is cash. Yeah, know, because one of your employees won it one year, and it was all cash. So it was nice, crisp $100 bills that Ryan Pape hands over.
Yeah, it's really cool. Kyle, have you competed in the competition at Xpel, and did you compete at the International Window Film Conference?
No,
Did you compete?
I've never competed.
No, he hasn't.
Never? Bro, come on. What is
he makes too money. He doesn't want the first place prize.
Chris West was always there, man. I didn't want to lose against our boy.
Oh, that's fair.
Now that he's retired, maybe I'll start competing.
I don't know. You know what's so funny is I had to sign a piece of paper when I was the judge of the International Window Competition that I could never be a contestant again. So I was signing my life away. Yeah.
When so you're retired?
Not from Xpel Dealer Conference. I'm not. No. I'm competing.
Yeah.
Now my paint protection skills are very good. I would say they're A+, but I'm nowhere near the caliber of paint protection installer there is in the country. I mean, I've seen Chris West. He's come and visited me. I wish he could have been on the show tonight. He had some technical difficulties with his phone, Skype, and I'm going to have to give him the 111 on how to do it next time.
What's Eric's take on the get together in Orlando this year for the Window Film Conference?
So this is going to be the first year we have a booth. And
oh wow, good for you.
Thank you. It's basically for the reason that you said. There's a credibility factor there. But beyond the credibility factor, I asked myself the questions. I said, what am I going there to communicate to the people that are there that I'm not able to communicate currently? And I've come up with the answer of nothing. So what I'm saying is I'm going there because I love the industry. I'm going there because I have a great time. I love seeing all the people. I'm going there for that interaction. But as far as this is my chance to, get the company out there or anything like that, I really don't think it has that draw as an event. But I'm going there for the people. And I do think it's incredible that they put it on. I'm so glad they put it on, because if they didn't put it on, there would not be one industry-wide event. It would be SEMA, which would be super diluted. If you're a window filmer at SEMA, you don't really feel like there's, it's not window film. So nothing but positivity in the sense I appreciate them and I love them. But what I will say is I think they do have to I think they should step up and try to grow their reach and be more interactive throughout the year and provide more digital assets and so on, because at the end of the day, I don't think it's going in their favor at this pace. I think it's that same, it worked because they were the only one, but all it takes is someone else. And then that's that.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's a great answer.
Yeah, great answer. I mean, I really love Eric answering questions. You're so knowledgeable in the industry. You deal with so many people. You talk to so many people, and you're always playing moderator back and forth. How did you guys like the question format? Was good?
It was great. Yeah, it was really good. Great job, Mike. The questions were good. It was good to hear from Chris and Eric as well, and yourself, Mike. Questions were spot on. I think they were very fitting for the audience.
The only reason I do this, believe me, I'm sitting on my back porch, hanging out with my dogs, drinking a little bit. And, we all have lives. We all have kids. We all have families. And to take time to do this, Eric, is because we care, is because we want to help the carry on the torch. We want to pass the torch to the next generation. Listen, Kyle's very successful. Chris Hardy There's no question he's one of the best leading industry sales guys in the world. And, obviously, I do very well myself with the brand Sunstoppers. We don't have to take our time to do these shows, Eric. And the thing is, I really appreciate you putting on this platform. But the whole reason why we're on this show is only one reason: to help the industry succeed and also pass the torch on to the next guys below us to try to rise up and become better and try to, hire another employee, to, get another sale tomorrow, motivate these guys to get more out of themselves, regardless of what brand you carry. You don't have to be Xpel. You don't have to be 3M. You don't have to be Lumar. You don't have to be Suntech. Listen, I am on the phone, Eric, a dozen times a week, helping stores that have nothing to do with me and they have nothing to do with Xpel. It's only because they found me on a forum or a chat room and they want to pick my brain. And you know what? I give that information away for free for the mere fact that I want to help the industry. And Chris Hardy has the biggest heart that I've ever met in my life. And he's the most passionate person on the back end. And Kyle, he came from corporate America, and I just wish I could look that good. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you all for doing this tonight. I echo what you just said, Mike. At the end of the day, we're all humans, we're all in the same industry, and this is what we all do for a living. It affects our family, it affects next generations, and if we can all work together and vastly improve each other, the community and affect people's lives in such a good way, that's a great way to go to sleep and a great way to wake up. That's such an easy way to live your life and run your business and handle stuff. It's easy, it's rewarding, you can smile, you don't typically carry many enemies that way, so it really is kind of a little hack to how you do things. But sometimes it can take people to get over a hump of thinking, this is mine, I need to hold on. But there really is more when you open up. So thank you all for taking the time to do this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a great forum, so thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you all. And thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next Wednesday. Mike Burke, thanks again for putting this together and getting everybody together. And thanks for everybody for being here.
Yes. Eric, I'm going to say this one thing.
Sure.
I love everybody in the industry. But guys, when you get on Tint Wiz, I love the camaraderie. I love the brotherhood. I love the joking and everything. But there's a lot of guys out there. The next guy that you get on, or who the next guy is, and the next guy is, just try to share good information that you can pass on to the next guy. I understand it's a cool show. I understand everybody wants to hang out. I understand why people make jokes and do everything. But just understand the platform that you're putting forth, Eric, is to help people with questions that need to be answered, that people have questions that they don't have the answers, and they're looking for guidance. So I look at this show and I look at what you're doing for all the guys that come on after us. Share knowledge. If you have knowledge, share it. Give it away. Tell people how they can become more successful. Tell them how they can become, better at shrinking a back glass. Tell them, Clear Bra Chris, I wish he could have been on tonight. I know he had some technical difficulties, but I've been doing paint protection since 1996. And this is no lie. I learned more in one day with Clear Bra Chris than I learned in 10 years by myself. So all I can tell you is a guy like me who's been doing this forever is constantly learning.
That's it. Neuroplasticity your entire life. That's what's important. We're the only species that can keep learning.
What's that?
Oh, I said we're the only species that can keep learning. We have neuroplasticity the entire time of our life. So whatever age you're at, there's always room to learn. And with that, thank you all for doing this.
Thank you.
Kyle, thanks for coming on, buddy. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Chris Hardy, love you,
Thank
brother.
Love you, brother.
Bye.